Hey, welcome back to the LeBauer Show. Today, what I want to do is talk to you about 11 steps that I took to build a seven-figure coaching business.
Welcome to the LeBauer Show. This is the #1 show for passionate physical therapy and healthcare entrepreneurs looking to level up their income and impact on the world. If that's you, then you're in the right place. So sit back, chill out, and let's get into the show.
So these aren't the only 11 things, but this is how I went from making 6 figures a year to scaling my coaching business to 7 figures. And even 100K months, which is where I've been lately prior to this recording. And I'm got a few things I'm working on right now to break through that plateau. So if you haven't listened to one of the prior episodes, cool. There a couple, like the episode before or 2 weeks before, I talked about how I grew a 6-figure online coaching business and what it take to get there. And today I'm going to talk about how I went from 6 and really multiple 6 figures to 7 figures doing online coaching. Some of the things are the same, but some of them are very different. One of the things that I want you to understand, no matter where you are in your business journey, no matter where you are in the process of launching, scaling, growing a business, what you need to understand, whether you're just getting started, you've already hit 10K a month, 50K months, or you're doing 84,000 a month, or you're doing multiples, if you're already doing $1 million, you probably know this, but what gets you from 0 to 10K months or 0 to $8,400 a month, what gets you that first 6 figures is not going to be the same thing that gets you to, 40K months. And then you have to do different things to get to $1 million. So $1 million a year, a 7-figure business is $84,000 gross revenue per month on average for 12 months. It doesn't have to be, 1 month might be 80, the other month might be 150. But to bring in $1 million a year, you have to do many different things than you did to go from 0 to 100K. And I know to go from $1 million a year to 1.5, 3 million, I'm going to have to do some different things to get to that next level. Or to bring in $1 million in gross profit. There's different things that I have to do. I have to start doing new than I did to get to where I'm at right now. So that's one thing I'm working on with my current coaching program is, I just went from black belt to boardroom, and boardroom, you have to be doing $1 million a year or more to qualify for boardroom. And one of the things that I was like, hey, well, I'm stuck at 100K months, on average for 5 or 6 months. What do I need to move past it? So there's some things that I didn't have to do to get to $1 million a year that now I need to do to break through. And I'm starting to implement those in the last 6 weeks. And I may not see the results from that. Although I'm seeing results, may not see like the big long-term results from that for a little while until I systemize it, etc. So what I want to do is go back with you and talk through some of the things that I did to take my business from multiple 6 figures to 7. And I think if you remember, you listened to one of the other podcasts, or maybe you haven't heard about me before, I'll just give you a quick intro. My name's Dr. LeBauer. I'm a Sagittarius, but I moved after college. I packed up my Jeep. I drove out to California with some friends. I ended up sleeping on a couch on the porch in the rain for 6 weeks before we found a place to live. I worked all the crazy jobs, temps, etc. Became a bike messenger. Had an aha one day. I was like, I can be a massage therapist and see 4 people a day and race my bikes on the weekends and have plenty of time to train and hang out with my friends. I quickly realized racing bikes that you have to sometimes put friends away to hit a goal. There's a whole episode I did on what bicycle racing taught me about business back on the Cash PT Lunch Hour podcast. Definitely listen to that. But I went to massage school, and then I had another aha, and I went to PT school. And in PT school, I saw 43 patients one day, and I was like, I can't work in PT the way everyone else is expecting me to. I started my own cash practice. People ask me how I did it, and I created an online program called the Cash PT Blueprint, which we've enrolled well over 1,000 people. I stopped counting. I know I've put probably 1,500 people through this program, maybe 2,000 at this point. That program is 9 years old, I think, as of this year. So next year will be the 10th anniversary. And it's a step-by-step blueprint to help you launch a 6-figure physical therapy cash practice. And that program was the one that took me to 6 figures online. I didn't even believe it. I started selling that for $197. One of my early mentors was like, Aaron, you have a 6-figure business. I was like, no way. But I ended up doing it. And so I go through all the details of that in one of the episodes prior to this one. So here I've got this like 6-figure online business. I've got a 6-figure cash practice, and I'm kind of working in both. I think it was 2017, 2018, the coaching business started bringing in the same, if not more revenue than the clinic. And by the end of 2018, I switched accountants, and, I was bringing in, I don't know, 300,000. I can't remember exactly. I didn't look this up, but like 300,000 a year in the online coaching business, and we made it its own separate entity because we had to separate because it was bringing in enough revenue that, let's say, we had a liability claim or issue in the clinic, it could affect the coaching business as well, and vice versa. So I had to separate those two. I probably should have separated them a little bit sooner, but that's when we did. Was the beginning of 2019, and also February 2019 was the last day or the last time that I saw a patient, I treated a patient for pay. Since then, I filled in here and there, but at the last day, I had someone regularly on my schedule as a patient in the clinic. Because leading up to that, I had, I was treating patients, but my main thoughts were, okay, what do I need to do? I've got these emails I need to answer. I've got this program I'm running. I've got to get in and help people. I've got all these other things I need to do to grow that. And I was starting to realize that my time was more valuable and scalable building and focusing on the online business in clinic. And in 2018, I already had other employees treating patients for me in the clinic. And so I think fall 2018, I went from 3 days a week treating to just all day Wednesday. And by the time I went to all day Wednesday, no one was really on my schedule anymore. And this last 1 or 2 patients just kind of trickled through the beginning of the year of 2019. Because I knew that every hour I put into the online coaching business, I was able to help dozens of physical therapists help hundreds of patients. And my time was infinitely more scalable. Instead of treating 25 patients a week, I could help 25, 50, 1,000 physical therapists help 25 patients a week. And so I knew I needed to spend more time focusing on that. And I can't remember if I had already hired my first employee for the coaching business at that point. I think it was right around then that I did. And so I was like, all right, there's some things that I have to change. So so that was 2019. So in 2018 was when, so I'm going to back up a little bit. March 2018 was when I went out to, I knew I needed a business coach. So prior to that, I'd worked with John Schumacher to launch the Cash PT Blueprint. And then I did a 2-week coaching program with Lewis Howes, where I really helped level up my webinar sales. That's where I made $18,000 in a webinar selling the Cash PT Blueprint, which was dope. I won the $2,000 weekend challenge and got a free coaching session with him. And I leveled up I started branding as Aaron LeBauer, not LeBauer Consulting, and leveled up a lot of those pieces. I think that was 2017. And then by 2018, I needed another coach. I needed someone to do something with me on a regular basis, long-term. Lewis wasn't doing that. And I had worked with Bedros, and I hadn't worked with Bedros. Bedros had helped me when I first launched my cash practice. I was listening to his podcast, and I went to his Fitness Business Summit event in the spring of 2018. I think it was in March or April. And it was there that, I decided to start hire Bedros as my coach. And he had a mastermind for 7-figure gym owners, and he had a mastermind for people who wanted to make $100K online. And I talked to Bedros, and I talked to him as a salesperson. I was like, hey, I don't fit in either one of those. what do I need to do? And they were like, oh, Bedros has this, private one-on-one coaching program. And so he's like, that's what you should do. And I did it. It was awesome. Now Bedros is charging $100,000 a year for that program. That's not what I paid at that time, but I paid more each year. I worked with Bedros for 4 years. We did a year of private coaching. Then I did a year in his Empire Mastermind. And then I did 2 years of private coaching. And so that got me started. So that was number one thing that I did. Like, I knew I had to do something different. I had to do something bigger than what I was doing, and I needed help getting there. So number one thing that I did was hire a coach. Okay, so I worked with Bedros in 2018, 2019, 2020, and then in the end of 2020, I hired Taki Moore and joined his black belt group. And I worked with Taki and Bedros for a year and a half together. And then as of a year ago, Bedros and I finished our one-on-one coaching because he's like, there's nothing more that I have to teach you that you don't already know, right? And so then I started doing his Operation Black site, which is Bedros' mastermind. It's more of like a networking mastermind. And you may have seen some of my videos where we meet 3 times a year in Temecula. Dan Fleischman's also doing it. And it's more of a networking amongst peers and people that are badass entrepreneurs, right? So, and I've overlapped, and I joined Taki's group because I knew about Taki more from people in Bedros' Empire Mastermind, from Vince Del Monte and Xander Fryer and Craig Ballantyne, who ran the mastermind with Bedros. Like, I knew about him, and I joined at the end of 2020 because I needed a little bit more help. And what the main thing I needed were some of these systems, like exact emails to send and processes, because I had this growing coaching group. And so Taki had those, and he had a community of people who were coaching other people. And so those 2 things are what I really wanted. So number one, what I'm going to tell you is to go from 6 to 7 figures, you need a coach. You may not need a coach to get to 6 figures. You can probably figure it out on your own. I haven't met anyone who has a 7-figure business that did it all by themselves. Like, you can get a mentor. The difference between a mentor and a coach is someone you pay, and you're not paying them for their time. You're not paying them for them to do anything for you. You're paying them for speed. You're paying them to help you speed up the curve so you can get ahead faster. That's really what it is. You're paying them for their experience to save you time. So get a coach. I mean, that is the number one thing that I did that moved me from, that helped me launch my business, and it helped me really scale my business from 6 to 7 figures. And the thing is like, I got a coach. I basically worked with Bedros for 5 years. I'm approaching 3 years with Taki and moving up into his next program. I'm not bouncing from coach to coach. I've got multiple mentors and coaches, but they provide different things. So I just need you to know that. Number one, I've had a lot of people bounce. I've seen a lot of people bounce from place to place to place. And it's probably because you're not doing the work. You just need to take the advice of the person that you're working with and just do it. And so that's my personality, is like, I'm going to choose someone, and I'm going to go all in, and we're just going to work together until like we get to the end of the road. But the end of the road doesn't even feel like the end of the road. I'm like, okay, there's another road. There's another route. There's another layer. There's always another layer. Like, number one, you want to go from multiple 6 to 7 figures, you need to have a coach, and maybe you need to also be in a mastermind. Maybe you need a private coach and a mastermind. Maybe you just need the mastermind that gets your questions answered. But you need something. The number two thing that I did that really elevated my income was to create a monthly recurring revenue program. And I remember my friend Greg Todd and I were chatting, and I can't remember what year it was. It was probably 2017, maybe 2016. And we were talking, and he was like, yeah, Aaron, like, if we want to really elevate our coaching income, he's like, you need a MRR program, monthly recurring revenue. We need something. And I've talked about this on the podcast before. I think it was like when it was the time to quit the podcast episode, I talked about the first MRR programs I built. And the very first one was $97 a month. And then I did a $397 a month one. And then, I didn't really like those. They were customer service headache, and I didn't have anyone else working for me. I was customer service, and it was really hard on me because everyone wanted, I got a lot of like unsatisfied people because they weren't paying attention to to the details about the recurring charges. I don't know. That's one headache that you'll have as you grow one of these. And then they were like surprised for some reason because they clicked the box that said, yes, I get 3 months free. And then after that, you're going to charge me $97 a month. But getting all those messages or people saying, hey, I want to quit. It just wasn't, I needed a customer service person. It wasn't expensive enough. And so I had that program and then I launched a mastermind program. It was $1,000 a month. And 3 of the first 6 people that enrolled agreed to the $1,500 a month, there was a kind of tiered offer. And I was like, great, it's $1,500 a month. And people showed up and they stayed and they got great results and they complained a whole lot less, which is amazing. The point is in order to really grow and to grow fast, you can do one-time sales, and one-time sales are great. But what we really want is we either want one-time long-term sales, so like a year for, $20,000 or $50,000 or even $100,000, or monthly recurring revenue where people agree to 12 months or they agree to 3 months, but after 3 they continue to pay because it's the minimum of 3 months, and they continue to pay you month to month to month. Okay, and I think I did a whole episode on MRR, monthly recurring revenue. But the monthly recurring revenue program is one of the things that accelerated my income. Like even when I cut off the inner circle, I was making about $25,000 in monthly recurring revenue. I was trying to figure out, well, how do I make 30? How do I get it from 23 to 24, 25 to 30? Because I wasn't hitting that peak. Monthly recurring revenue is really nice. You have to be solving a really big problem for people. They charge a lot, but there are people that are doing $50 a month recurring revenue, even $10 a month recurring revenue, which is a little low, but making $20,000 months. I mean, $20,000 months won't get you to $1 million, but I know a guy, his name is Wes Watson, and Wes has a $49 a month program, and he's making $1 million a month on a $49 a month program using Trainerize, right? But in order to do that, you have to have a massive audience. You have to have a really massive audience, wide, niche, broad, okay? Monthly recurring revenue, that's one of the big ones. So if you're just getting started, one of the things I might suggest, like I have with our Platinum Mastermind members, is to create something like our Mastermind program, where it's a coaching program. You meet 3 times a year in person. You meet, bi-monthly or weekly on Zoom, and you have a Facebook group. You still have to be solving a big problem. But let's say you get 6 people in paying $1,000 a month. That's $6,000 a month. That's dope. Maybe now you charge $2,100 a month and you have 44 people paying $2,100 a month. And what's that number? Let me just see this real quick. Let's see, $84,000 divided by 2,100. You just need 40 people to have $1 million in recurring revenue. 40 people is not a lot, considering there's hundreds of millions or billions of people on the planet. Hundreds of millions of people in the United States. There's hundreds of thousands of people in your niche. You could sell, all you need is 100 people paying $100,000 a year, right? I think that's $1 million. So we need to create some kind of monthly recurring revenue program. There are some problems with it. Like the more people you put in there, the bigger customer support issues you'll have. Refund requests, you need to figure out affiliates. If you're going to do affiliate sales, how do we track sales, etc. There's some other issues in there that we're not going to spend time on in this episode. But just know, we need to create something where people are getting a big result and they're staying with you long term and paying you on a regular basis, whether it's monthly or even weekly. Okay, number 3. What I had to do, especially to sell a high ticket item, was start selling one-on-one. Just like I do in my clinic, we sell one-on-one. I had to start selling people one-on-one into my mastermind program. So prior to starting boot camps and mastermind, I was selling on webinars. That's one to many. I was selling via email. So I did email marketing. So I do email campaigns, and I would get people in. I'd sell them directly into the course through email. I'd sell them. I'd move them from email into a webinar, from social media into a webinar. On the webinar, I'd sell one to many. and I'd close dozens of people into the Cash PT Blueprint from a free webinar. If you haven't been on one of those webinars, check it out. Even if it's just to learn how I sell and how I do really well selling one-to-many. But I had to start learning to sell one-on-one, especially if you're going to sell something to someone over $2,000. Like a lot of people said you can't do webinars for anything over $1,500 or $2,000, and I put people on a webinar, and we did courses for $2,000. I've done hundreds of thousands from like a webinar, like PT BizCon. The first 3 years was basically a 2-day webinar, and I've did millions of dollars from those webinars if I count all the people and all the income that those brought me. Okay, which is dope. It's really dope, and I don't even think about it that way. But you have to sell one-to-one. So when I launched my mastermind, I did something like 60 one-to-one strategy calls. And I enrolled like 6 people. The very first time I tried, I had 4 people come to a one-day boot camp, and actually 4 people paid for the one-day boot camp and 2 people showed up. So I had a coach help me, not Bedros or Taki. I used Jake, who is my Facebook ads buyer, and one of his friends, Frank, helped me through this process. It was just like a short-term arrangement, like 3 months, and they helped me. It was like $10K, and they would help me launch this program. Okay, and help me with the sales strategy and sales process, etc. And I did that, and I closed like 6 of the 60 people, like 10%. It was really low. But what I also learned was I learned a lot about the problems my audience had. I learned a lot about how to sell. I learned a lot about the sales. I got better and better as it went on. I qualified people better before I got on calls with them. But you have to sell one-to-one just to learn it. Like you can do it in the DMs, but you got to get comfortable with sales. Number 4, around that same time, when I just said like I hired someone to help me with the sales, I'd hired Jake to run paid traffic. I had been running paid traffic myself through Facebook, and this was 7 years ago, even 8 years ago. I was running some paid traffic. I was doing it myself, but I knew I was missing something. I knew I wasn't doing it quite right. I was spending money. I was getting some results. Facebook was telling me X, Y, and Z, but I was missing something. And so I hired a paid traffic buyer. And I pay thousands of bucks a month just to have him as a contractor to buy my traffic. I pay him, plus I pay for the ad spend. Most people are unwilling to do that because they're like, oh, I don't think that, paying someone $5,000 a month to run ads for me plus the ad spend is worth it. Well, I can tell you, if you've got a product, if you've made it to multiple 6 figures, you've got a proven product. If you've gotten there, you probably have a lead magnet, right? And an email list. In order to run Facebook ads, you need to have a proven product and you need to have a proven lead magnet. You've got a proven offer. And once you do that, like you want to grow bigger, we need to accelerate the numbers of leads that come in the door. And one of the best ways to accelerate that is to pay for it. Sometimes you got to pay to play. Hire a traffic buyer. I mean, I've also done, lately, I'm paying to boost reels and we're getting new followers and we're DMing the followers and I'm getting sales out of that. So you got to buy traffic. I've paid for traffic. Like you just got to be willing to do that if you want to grow. Okay. And it can help you grow even quicker. Some people are like, oh yeah, I got to $1 million without paid traffic. Great. Good for you. You probably would have gotten there faster had you paid for some traffic. I can guarantee it because there hasn't been a single month since I hired Jake that we haven't had a positive ROI on Facebook ads. I mean, that's the truth. Okay. Number 5, email marketing. Email marketing helped me get to 6 figures. But to get to 7, you got to raise the game. You got to level up. I use email marketing to do automated sequences. Like if you saw the back end of my active campaign account, you'd be like, oh my God, this is crazy. Well, especially in a micro niche, if I had a super wide niche, I don't have to be that strong as some of these things. But email marketing, oh my gosh. Like number one thing people need to know as soon as they pay you money, they need to know that they're in, they need to know that they're seen. They need to know that they've been acknowledged, that everything's good. I've paid $2,500 for programs and weeks have gone by without me getting access to the program or acknowledgement because I didn't get the email. We do one-time time campaigns and promotions, but you also want to be able to, you build your email list. You need to you need to communicate with people on a weekly basis. So every week we send out at least an email like, hey, here's the latest from the podcast. Here's the latest, basically the latest from YouTube. Like, have you seen this video, this 5-minute video on YouTube that talks about X? And one of the things that does is I'm not selling anything there, but I'm sending people over to our channel or to our blog or website. I'm sending people to something that's helpful. And they're more likely to click on the email and stay engaged so that when I do send them promotions and campaigns, they'll read them. There's a lot of things that we can talk about email marketing. I've got a lot of prior episodes on email marketing, but just know that you need to be a good marketer and a salesperson. I haven't even talked about social media marketing yet. I just haven't. Like, as you know, like I don't even think there's one thing in here that's like, grew my Instagram to 100,000 followers. There's not, because it's not a big mover. Numbers of followers on Instagram is not a big mover. Email marketing, now that's a big mover. Okay, I've got hundreds of automated campaigns and follow-up sequences, welcome sequences, promotion sequences. I do one-time campaigns, so I'll do like 5-day email launch sequences, especially if I'm doing a live webinar. I'll take them, and when I have the Evergreen webinar, I'll take the live emails and turn them into Evergreen sequence and put people through that, just as they come in through our lead magnets. Maybe if you're on my email list, you're like, God, Aaron sends a lot of emails. Well, what's the name of the podcast you're listening to? Just leave it at that. Number 6, you have to hire a team. Like, maybe you can sell a one-time $1 million thing, or 2 $500K things, or 10 100K? Yes, 10 100K things to get to $1 million, right? That's hard, okay? You need to hire a team. Like, you need to have other people supporting you, even if it's just a virtual assistant. Like, maybe the very first thing you do is you hire a VA to post on social media for you, because it's time consuming. It's not low value, but it's low. Like, you don't need to be doing it. You don't need to be spending 30 minutes creating a reel or more. Just take 5 to 10 minutes, create the video, and send it to a VA and be like, hey, create 5 reels from this. Or make like what I'm doing with this podcast. I'm recording a podcast. It's going to be about a half hour maybe. And we're going to create a bunch of reels and social media and other videos and things from this podcast. Hire a team. So we need someone to run social media, someone else to run your podcast. You shouldn't be editing your own podcast. Please don't edit your own podcast. Customer service. Like, you got an MRR program with more than 10 people in it. You really need someone to help you, support you with customer service, to handle refund requests and problems accessing your courses. Like, you're enrolling 100 people, into your course every year. Like, you shouldn't be the one, making sure people, who entered their email wrong can get in access to the course. You need to have someone else doing that. Okay, because if you're going to get to $1 million, you're going to have to enroll a lot more people than what you did to get to 200K. So we need someone doing customer service. So like customer service is kind of like your defensive line, your social media, podcast. Those are kind of like your offensive line. And then depending on how many people you put in your coaching program, if you've got more than 12 or 15, really once I got over 25 people in our Platinum Mastermind, or really 30, is where I realized I need, like, answering all the questions myself is a little hard. 40 people on a call is like, a lot of people get left out. And then I've also got where in my group, I've really got 2 different levels. I've got a good chunk of people that are in the launch phase for their cash practice, going from 0 to 100K. And then I got about half the people who are already doing 6 figures and they're trying to scale to multiple 6 and 7. And so what I needed to do, and I knew about this a long time ago, but it was only earlier this year in 2023 where I started having other coaches help me run some of the calls and answer questions. Prior to that, like the last years, I've had other people helping with the calls and kind of helping in the group here and there, but not in as much of official capacity. But I know as we go towards 50, 60, 75 people, like, I got to have multiple coaches. Like, one of the kind of things is, it's no longer Aaron answering the questions, but the way we run it is when twice a month we do these power calls, and for the first 10, 15 minutes, I am doing the coaching with everyone on the call, And then we break into groups for about 45 minutes to an hour, depending. Calls are about an hour and 15 minutes. And we'll break into groups to do deeper dives into questions. Okay. And people love it. And it's awesome. And it means someone else can answer some of the questions I've been answering for years, and I can go deeper with the people that are more advanced, which is really nice. Right. And then it gives the people that are just starting an incentive to grow their business so they can get in the room with Aaron, which is dope. I mean, it's exactly what Taki does. You know, as a black belt member, it's hard to get on a call and get Taki to answer your questions because he's got half a dozen coaches, because he's also got a couple hundred people in his boardroom level making over $1 million a year that he's focused on. And he's even got coaches in that. So hiring coaches is one thing that you're going to need to do to scale. Even if you're doing multiple six figures and maybe you've got other priorities or other things, you might already have other coaches helping you because it scales your time. Because let's say you're doing nutrition or fitness. You don't need to always be the one doing all the plans. You can hire other people who are qualified and competent, and you're creating the vision and mission. But coaches might have been something I could have done earlier. But for me, it was more mindset of like, who do I bring in? Do I really want to bring in that person? Like I'd been thinking about this for years. Do I really want to bring in that person and have them not focus focus on their business as much as focus on X, and, as far as like bringing in someone to coach cash practice owners, I want someone who's got a cash practice who knows about all those nuances, not just someone who's a marketing person that I can bring in from outside. It's like, I want something authentic. And so I've had to like train a lot of my own coaches into building their own business. So that's the thing. So, but you're going to need other coaches or team members, not just on the back end, but on the delivery of whatever service that you're offering. You're going to need other people. Like you might not have a coaching business, but you might have other people that need to be on the front end of the delivery of the business and not just you. Okay, so that's number 6, hire a team. That's not all the things teams can do, but those are the big ones. Number 7, you're going to get to a point where we talked about selling one-to-one. One of the big movers for me was offloading the sales to team members. So this kind of piggybacks onto hiring a team, but me, the founder, not doing all the sales, that actually accelerated my business. I have people doing sales for me, and maybe they don't close as well as I do, but with the right qualified leads, they close the same and sometimes even better. Because they know my business really well versus them just being like some outside salesperson. But what it does is that frees me up. I had a couple instances where I'd get on these calls with people and we'd be chatting for 45 minutes. And by the end of the call, they were like, yeah, I just need to think about it and blah, blah, blah. And I made an exception for one person who was very well qualified on paper between Christmas and New Year's. And it was just like a waste of my time because she was really there just to kick the tires. And I was just like, I can't do this anymore. But I had already offloaded the sales, but I took that one because the sales team was on vacation. I was like, well, I'll take this call. And I was like, yeah, that's why I don't do that, because it's a waste of my time. I would rather spend my time working with my clients who are paying me because I know they're dedicated, I know they're going to get the results. And I know my time is valuable because they're engaged with me to find solutions to problems. Okay, so offload your sales. So you build a sales team. You can get them doing one-on-one, like phone/Zoom sales. You can also get them doing sales in your chats and DMs, SMS sales, where someone else is kind of posing as you and answering DMs and messages on Facebook, Instagram, wherever else, LinkedIn, etc., to either sell people a course or move people from the chat into a phone call, like a strategy call, consultation, etc. I mean, there are people, I will say this, there are people in Black Belt and Boardroom who have $1 million businesses and they do all the sales in chat. But like I said, it's a higher volume. Like if you're selling courses or MRR, at a lower price, you just need higher volume, and they've scaled that out. They've got a whole sell by chat team and they're doing incredible. So, but as a founder, you couldn't possibly grow that fast by yourself. So that's kind of like, that's number 7, but it's almost like 6.2. Okay, number 8. The number 8 thing, the next thing that accelerated my revenue, I'm going to call it sell more of it. Don't be afraid to sell. Sell more of it. Raise the price. Over deliver. So it's kind of like raise the price, but sell more. Both. So you know, it's a massive difference at the end of the year between a $1,000 program and a $2,100 program. Or, you know, where I started at $997 with our mastermind. It's now $2,100 a month. But it's not unaffordable, because if I'm doing my job right as your coach, I'm going to show you how one new patient and one new plan of care covers your mastermind membership. You know, and our members regularly do 18 to 22K a month by themselves, and then hire another physical therapist and grow and scale beyond that. You know, so it's one of those things where, you know, for me, that accelerated my income, but you know what it did is it accelerated the rate of results that our clients are getting. Our clients in our mastermind group are getting such bigger and faster results now than they were 6 years ago. And it's not only what they're paying, but it has a lot to do with how seriously they take it. Because when you're investing in yourself significantly in a way that it hurts, you're like, oh, I feel that. Like, you're going to take it seriously. So that's one, is raise your prices. Number 2, sell more of it. So do more events, more webinars. There was a couple years where I did 3 mastermind retreats a year, but I also did 3 one-day boot camps a year in between. I was just like, let me get in front of people and do more events. I did more webinars. I did more live webinars. I just did a live webinar last week, and I'll probably be doing more coming up soon because it worked really well. I tweaked a couple things about the format, and it was like, ooh, I've been doing webinars forever. Do chats, more chats. Okay. Also, sometimes if you have an offer that's just not quite working, like my first offer was the course, and that worked great, but that's not going to get me to $1 million. So I had to, you know, the offer is the mastermind, but I have an offer, and you go from like chatting to a sales page about the mastermind, an application, and into a call. Well, sometimes you just need to tweak the offer. That offer worked really well, and then, you know, things change, whether it's the time or economy or competition or whatever. I have to tweak the offer a little bit. So I've tweaked the offer. So now we're offering new patient strategy calls. You know, I mean, it's a slightly different offer than what I was doing before, which was apply for a breakthrough strategy call. A new patient strategy call doesn't require an application, but it's a little bit shorter to start. So you can learn more about that, you know, webinars, emails, etc. I'm not here to sell you on that at the moment, but what I'm here to say is, you know, what's going to get you to 6 figures isn't going to get you to 7. What's going to get you to 7 isn't going to help you get to 3. Like I did some things to get to 7 figures, and now I have to switch them up. And that's one of the things you get different offers. You got to find, like, you have to tweak your offer. It's not like change what you're doing. What I'm saying is sometimes, like, what people want isn't what they need, and the desires of your audience can sometimes shift. Like, things have really shifted in the last few years with the pandemic, and how people buy and and what people want. But the money's still flowing, money's still exchanging hands. People are still getting really fucking rich, right? So we have to, like, when I say different offers, I'm talking about, like, we have to sometimes tweak the offer. We have to tweak the reason to get them on that next call, get them on that webinar. You know, I mean, that's what I had to do is I tweak the reason to get people on this last webinar, and I tweak the offer at the end. You know, instead of 1 or 2 calls booked, I had 11 calls booked. And that's a massive difference. Ultimately, it's the same product, but it's a different reason to get there and a different reason to take the next step. Hopefully that makes sense. And then we talked about raising prices in the beginning, right? That was my next one on my notes. But it's raise prices, because that can significantly make a difference. Even just, let's say you own a cash practice and you're listening to this, and you're doing evals for 200 and follow-up visits for 125. And people don't know the fucking difference. But you're just losing out on hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue. That price needs to be raised. Okay, sell more of it, and don't be afraid to sell. That's really is like, just don't be afraid to sell. Because if you know that what you're offering and results that you can get for people is what they need, it's your ethical obligation to learn how to sell. Because selling is just giving someone an opportunity to get what they need. But they don't know yet. They have to understand. So, number 9, there's some grind. Everyone says, "Oh, no grind." Like, you gotta fucking grind. You gotta fucking grind. I mean, you're not gonna. I mean, maybe you can get there 12 hours a week working. And to me, I love doing what I do. So it's not like work. Some days it is. Some days at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm tired and need to do something else. But, I wake up excited to come to work. So it's not really a grind, but you just have to be able to like show up daily and do the work. And so some of it's like here, what I have is like, it's not be a slave to the man, and it's not have, but there's really not work-life balance. Work-life balance is for people that have a job. Work-life mix is for people that own their own business, entrepreneurs. But you got to show up daily and do the work. You just got to do it. And sometimes, and I'll get to this in a minute, you got to do the things that others are unwilling to do. And that's number 11. But I'm going to say show up daily. So here's some of and you got to develop $1 million habits. So here's some of my habits. They tweak a little bit over the years because of like the age of my kids and when they're going to school. So there was a time when I would wake up early and work out and then get the kids ready and take them to school and come to work. Lately, I'd get the kids to school, come to work, and then go home during lunch to go home and work out and then eat lunch. I have more of a 2-hour break in the middle of my day, which has been working for me lately. So here's what I do is I wake up, get the kids ready, take them to school, arrive to work, I make my coffee. So I hand grind my coffee, right? I review my game plan, like what's my focus for the next 3 months. I time block. So Mondays I have team meetings. Fridays are generally content creation days. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday mornings are like deep work time for Aaron. I know every Tuesday at noon Eastern, that's when our Platinum Mastermind is meeting on Zoom. Wednesday afternoons are calls. Tuesday and Thursdays at 2:00 are team meetings for the clinic. Wednesday afternoons are generally Zoom calls with clients or potential partners or whatever. Thursday afternoons are kind of flex like that. And then Thursdays, kind of early evening, there's a meeting for, Mastermind Black Belt. And I have it kind of all time blocked. And there's some variations. And if there's a project I need to do, I put it on the calendar. I prioritize my workout every day. So this year I ended up with, I think 2, probably maybe a 3rd concussion this year. So I've had some issues where like lately it hasn't been, sometimes it's not that easy to get in a workout, but I'm always moving. Like I can't work. A couple weeks ago, I wasn't able to work out as hard as I wanted to, or didn't feel like it. But I prioritize moving well in my workouts, like 5 days a week or every day. But I don't work out every day. I move every day. I do some mobility. I get on the floor every day and do something. Even if it's 5 minutes swinging a mace or one of the balls on a string that I have that moves like a mace. Like I'm using a roller at something. I'm prioritizing my physical health every day. That's for sure. I prioritize my coaching calls. Like I show up to the coaching calls. Unless I'm with my kids and I can't get there, I'm going to be on a call. Sometimes I don't want to just listen to other people's problems, but there's some calls that I won't do because like I'm not having an issue that I need help with. But I will prioritize those calls. If I need help, I am there to get help, right? I'm prioritizing my engagement. I'm asking questions and I'm answering questions and I'm taking action. Those are the things that you have to be able to do to make $1 million. You got to ask for help. You got to help other people and you got to take action. Number 10, what I had to do is upgrade my mindset and my leadership abilities. Okay, mindset, a couple of them. I had to build a 7-figure mindset and have 7-figure expectations of myself and my team and the people around me. In order to do that, I had to work with people and hire coaches that are more experienced and successful than me, but I also had to surround myself with other people who are ahead of me. I need to have other success-minded people that I'm surrounding myself with. My good friend Greg, man, he's got a He's got a multi-million-dollar motorcycle dealership. Like, dude, I hang out with that guy all the time now, and it's great. I went to a vintage motorcycle and hot rod show with him last week, and it's awesome. We hardly talked about business that day, but it's just like, successful people, how do they act? Who do they associate with? Like, what do we do? Like, and one of the things he's doing there is he's networking with other people to hire, the motorcycle stunt performers to come to Isle of Man TT and things like that. I'm like, oh, this is like how Greg networks. Like, I do well with that too, but it's just seeing it and being around it, and being around winners is important. There's some other things you have to do. So one that's like, how do we create 7-figure mindset and expectations? Like, take first class. Like, once you fly first class a couple times, you're going to hate flying coach. So make enough money so that you can fly first class everywhere, right? It's so much better, and you can work on the airplane so much easier. Or the people you sit next to in first class are going to be people you're going to want to talk to and learn from, because how'd they get to sit first class, right? Because the tickets are $1,400 to $2,500 a ticket or more. It's rare to find one of those tickets under $1,000, unless you're going Greensboro to Charlotte, which is 5 minutes in the air. Then you also have to deal with haters and copycats, competition. You can't watch the competition. You can't focus on the competition. You can't focus on the people behind you. And you're going to have haters. And that's one of the reasons it's great to have a VA, because they can intercept a lot of the hate, but they won't intercept it all. I actually tell them not to delete it, but to put it somewhere else so I can look at it when I'm mentally in a good place to do that, because sometimes it's good fuel for content. I sent a promotion last week for this new webinar I just mentioned, and one of the emails I talked about dyno PTs. Okay. I had one person write back and be like, Aaron, I love this. This is great. This is exactly what I need to hear. And another person was like, Aaron, I agree with a lot of what you say, but I really don't agree with this. Blah, 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 blah. Like, you shouldn't be hating on people, etc. I'm not hating on specific people. Dyno PTs, I mean, if you identify it yourself as one, like, yeah, you're going to feel it. But it's like this old mindset. And it's not even about age. It's about this old mindset of the way of doing things in physical therapy that it's always been done. Like, we cannot be successful as a profession and do things the way we've always done it. It's just not going to happen. So I triggered some emotions, which is great. It means that email did really well. There's hundreds of people who read that email who didn't give me feedback, but I know because I got a negative and a positive feedback, even if I only got a negative one, I know I triggered some emotions, and that's my job as a marketer, is to trigger your emotions. So you take action. You either stop following me or you go to the webinar. So you're going to have to deal with that, and you're going to have to deal with people copying you. People may not realize they're copying you. Maybe they're doing it intentionally. I've had people copy me. It's crazy. So someone starts copying you, screenshot. Don't delay, screenshot. That's one of the things I didn't do early on, was screenshot the people and the sales page that looked just like mine. I didn't screenshot it. I showed it to a couple good friends, and they can vouch for me, but I didn't screenshot it to have proof, because I didn't believe it was something that someone would do. I didn't believe someone would actually build something that looked just like mine, sounded just like mine, and had basically the same offer, but slightly different. I didn't think someone would do that, but they do, and they're going to. And people are going to see your success, and they're like, I want a piece of that. And you know what? There's enough success to go around for everyone. You just have to understand, not to focus on the copycats, but protect your IP, your intellectual property. Make sure you do that. Okay, number 11. I alluded to this before. This is kind of like the grind, $1 million habits, number 9. But it's do what other people are unwilling to do. People want success, but they're unwilling to do the work that it requires. So some days you just got to eat shit. Some days you got to just get on the ground and eat the dirt. You got to get back and do some sales. You got to get back and do some customer support. You got to get back and do the things that someone went on vacation. You need to try something new. I'm doing a new sales process. So I'm going to do some of the sales to make sure the process is right before I teach my team. Sometimes you just got to do what people aren't willing to do, like say no. People ask me, oh, Aaron, I'd love to know, is this an affiliate program or whatever? If you're just that you're not selling it just to make money, you're doing an affiliate deal because you believe in it. tell you what, like I say no to affiliate deals at least once a week. People contact me. They just want me to promote their stuff. I'm not going to promote something that I don't believe in. Not to make money, not for any reason. So I have to say no. You got to be comfortable saying no. Like, no, that's not for me. And I've had a hard time with it. I've gotten into some deals and I was like, this sounds like a good one. Let me go down this and spend a lot of time. And I realized then later on, it's a no. I can't promote this. It's not good, right? You got to, who's willing to get up at 5 a.m. to put in an hour's worth of work on their own business before you take the kids to school and then go do a different business? You got to be able to get up early, stay up late, maybe do a couple hours of work on the weekend. I had someone tell me they didn't have enough time once. She was like, I don't have enough time to do all the work it takes to grow my business. I need to quit the program. I was like, so how many kids do you have? She was like, none. I was like, okay, what do you do on the weekends? Oh, we like to travel and do these. You know what? The problem wasn't like, it wasn't her level of sacrifice. It was her goal, and her why wasn't big enough to sacrifice the time to do what it takes. But she wasn't willing to do what others are unwilling to do. She wanted to have her weekends, right? You want to grow $1 million business, you're probably going to need to work on the weekends, at least once or some. I mean, I do some work on the weekends because I love it. Like I do some things on the weekends because I have a clear head and I have a great idea. Well, I'm not going to be like, oh, let me let that idea wait till Monday afternoon. No, I'm just going to go write it down, implement a few things. I'm not going to go work all day long, but maybe I take Wednesday off and I work on Saturdays. That's a nice trade. It's not really a weekend anymore. If you're an entrepreneur and you control your life and your lifestyle, you really don't have weekends. Other people do. And you got to be willing to invest. Most people aren't willing to invest in themselves, invest in their future, invest in, property, in wealth. They're not willing to do that. You just got to do that. So those are the 11 things. Those are the big 11 things that I did. There's one or two tactical things I'll share with you that really helped me grow my business. Well, one, we talked about raising prices, but upgrading how I run my coaching calls and client events from the way I was doing it with, 20 people. It made a big difference now with over 40 to 50 people at an event. We have to run them differently. We have to do things slightly different. I'm actually doing less work now than I did before, which is really cool. And then I created an Evergreen onboarding system. So I talked about emails and automations. You come on board in our mastermind. I've got a whole Evergreen onboarding system that gets you to the point. So by the time that we talk after you've enrolled, we can go deep in on your strategies versus talk about surface level things. So it really, by making the Evergreen onboarding system, it allows me and my clients to go deeper into the strategies and get even faster results. And so that was one of the things that we did tactically, to make this, that really accelerated not the revenue as much as my time. That made my time more valuable in the business. And get people even better results. So there's a couple tactical pieces of that. But I just want to share that these big things are things that you need to do. And maybe you have a slightly different experience. Maybe you've done something different. Maybe you're listening and you got to $1 million and there was something that I didn't even mention. Or I'd love to hear about it. Maybe there's something that you're like, oh, I need to stop or I need to start doing. I'd love to know. If you could, maybe shoot me a message on Instagram, or if you could shout out on your stories and let me know, something like that. You can find me at Aaron LeBauer on Instagram. I think if there was one last thing to leave you with is, if you want to go from multiple 6 to 7 figures, especially running an online business, you need to be able to leverage software, and you need to be able to leverage social media, and you need to be able to capture emails. Those are the 3 big ones. But as you saw, social media wasn't the big mover for me to go from 6 to 7, but it is a massive mover for me going from 0 to 7. It has been a big one. So you need to be able to leverage that and leverage multiple channels, and you need to be able to go all in, do the work, show up, and have a big why. My why is, I used to have patients come in and say, Dr. LeBauer, I was told never to work out again, never to run again, never to lift over 35 pounds ever again. It made me want to bang my head against the wall. So after doing some coaching and going to a couple events, I realized my goal is to, help people avoid expensive imaging and unnecessary surgery. But I need to make a big one. and 1 million people wasn't enough because I've already affected 1 million people through the trickle down theory of, 25 patients a week in 20 years for me was like, I don't know, if I multiplied that by the people I'd already helped grow businesses, I've already gotten way past 1 million. So I said, what's a bigger one? 100 million people worldwide. But I can't do that number alone, right? That needs to be 55,000 physical therapists to do what I did only and see half as many people as me. So you got to have a big why. You got to have a big reason to show up every day. So make sure you spend time figuring out what it is you truly want, how much money you need in the bank so that you can reverse engineer the process, because money is a measure of meaning. It's not just a measure of wealth. Okay. You have to have those goals and insights so that you can build this and beyond and keep stretching it as you go. And I'll see you on the next show. Peace out. Hey, what's up? It's Aaron. Thanks for listening to the show. If you enjoyed the episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a 5-star rating and review over on iTunes. And to catch all the latest from me, follow me over on Instagram at Aaron LeBauer. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.